everybody, what is going on? It is Tuesday, January 5th at the time of not only this live video, but we're also recording it as well, tying into our episodic content on our WNEP TV platforms, all things hope and help for 2021. It's all about helping you find the resources, the tips, the tricks to live your best life. We've been tackling all sorts of episodes, everything from the power of sleep to improving your finances. And this one we wanted to tackle live because so many people had great questions regarding health, fitness, gyms, workout. So I wanted to find three experts who can not only tackle a lot of your questions, but also expand upon some of those hot topics, especially as we head into a new year. So let's bring them in and meet them. With us, we have three cool cats in the house. We have Dr. Jessica Bachman. We have Sinan. And Sinan, I'm going to have you pronounce your last name so I don't screw it up.
Perfect. It's Sinan Azimeski.
And Joe Pacifico, who is from the Scranton area. And you're going to get to meet all of these people and kind of hear their background on why we chose them and sort of what their wheelhouse is, right? And as we continue with this whole live feed, we want to hear from you. What are your questions? What are your concerns, your thoughts when it comes to things, health, nutrition, gyms, all sorts of stuff. So first, I like to say, I feel like I'm going to say meet the panelist, right? So I'm going to start with the lady. Dr. Jessica Bachman is in the house. She is all things nutrition and health and wellness with us today. She and Sinan are both with a company that is global, online, Stronger You Nutrition, even though Dr. Jessica Bachman is based in the Clark Summit area. She's been on the morning show many times on Newswatch 16. Tell us about your background before we get to Sinan.
Sure. Hey guys. So I am currently the Director of Nutrition Education with Stronger You Nutrition. I am a registered dietitian and I have my PhD in nutrition. I have a background in exercise science as well. Prior to this job, I was working as a university professor and then just really have found a lot of joy working directly with people in an online virtual environment, helping them improve their nutrition and diet overall.
That's quite a resume, and that's just like a snippet because I know of some of the stuff you've published and everything else. Let's go to Sinan, who is also with Stronger You Nutrition. He's a coach, but he also is, I think you're getting like your second master's degree in this field.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if I can follow Jess up with that one, but so I am doing my second master's at Penn State now for dietetics. I did my first master's for applied clinical nutrition, and I've been in the nutrition industry since 2014. And I've been with Stronger You for over a year and a half now. So it's been awesome having Jess on the team with me and just being on the board. So
I love it. So Sinan and Jess are going to be all things related to nutrition. If you have questions, we have a number of people signing on now. So hello to Tina, to Dustin, to Amanda and the folks. And now to Joe Pacifico, who I swear must have started in the fitness industry when he was 3 years old. You've had like 9 lives, brother. Tell us about your background.
Yeah, I've been in the fitness industry for over about 25 years, and I do athletic development and personal training and group fitness at elite game speed.
But I should point out, Joe, even though you were born and raised in Scranton, I mentioned you had like 9 or 10 lives because telling me about the people you've worked with, where you've lived, and then how you ended up coming back to Northeastern Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I've been in LA, been in Oklahoma, been in Tampa, been in Miami, and trained athletes all over the world there. And then got into the fitness industry since '84. I've been personal training since out of high school. So it's been interesting.
And I think the thing is, though, I mean, Joe's a humble guy, but Joe, you've worked with professional athletes and have trained baseball teams. I mean, you name it, this guy has trained the people.
Yankees, Phillies, Bucks, you name it. We had a lot of athletes come to our facilities.
And the great thing is Joe Pacifico, he now has a young daughter. He's back in Scranton. He has family from here. So even though he's traveled the country, helping people really step up their fitness game throughout the industry. Even Joe, I believe you were the vice president of a national fitness franchise?
Yeah, I've been with 24 Hour Fitness, been with a company, Aspen Athletic Clubs, and then started my own company down in Tampa called Choice Fitness. And then here we are, Elite Game Speed now.
Got it. And Elite Game Speed, of course, is in Scranton. And we'll talk more with how people can connect with you toward the end of this video. But the reason why I wanted to set up some of the pros who are with us today is so you really have a sense of who we're talking to, what their background is, and why you can count on them for information when it comes to changing your life in 2021. I'm going to start with our nutrition gurus. And Jess and Sinan, you guys can dive into how you want to kind of tackle this first. But, you know, every year when it rolls around, the hottest resolution or goal, whatever you want to call it, everybody says, says, I want to lose weight. I want to change my life, improve my health. So either one of you can answer. What is the difference between a whole diet and a lifestyle change?
Snan, you go ahead and start.
All right. So I think one of the biggest things that we notice when people throw out the term diet, the biggest thing is we pump the brakes because we think a diet is always something that's, restrictive, or it pulls something that we like to do out of routine. It always eliminates something, or has you leaving aside something that you really like in your regular routine and daily habit. And with a lifestyle change, I think the biggest piece with that is you can incorporate a lot of the stuff that you normally do, but just in moderation, and just understand what healthy looks like across the board, instead of what eliminating everything and just kind of, sticking to little pieces at a time looks like.
And I know some more people just jumped on. So let me just quickly recap who's with us right now as part of this video, part of our Hope and Help series 2021. We have two nutrition experts from Stronger You Nutrition. It's a global online nutrition coaching company that has helped about 44,000 plus people around the world in 20 plus countries lose weight. And one of their fearless leaders is Dr. Jessica Bachman, who's based out of the Clark Summit area. She's been on Newswatch 16 this morning a number of times, giving us all sorts of news you can use information. And another great wellness coach who I got to meet through Dr. Bachman is Sinan, who is also going to be a registered dietitian, I think, in the next several months. He's finishing like his 20th master's degree. Anyway, all right. So, and we have Joe Pacifico, who's the fitness guru, all things gym, workouts, train professional athletes, to answer some of your questions about gym, personal training. So we talked about lifestyle versus diet. I guess the big thing is with Jess and Sinan, before we get to Joe, where do you start if you're looking to lose weight? I mean, everything, we got to come back to the phrase, abs are made in the kitchen, right? So where do you begin if you're looking to whittle your waistline in the new year?
Yeah, and to follow like what Sinan had said, it's really, people are really good at dieting, right? If you're committing to something for just like 4 weeks, going to the extreme, cutting food groups out, you can do that. And then what's the end result? Is that just a few weeks later, a few months later, when that becomes too challenging, you say, that's it, I'm done. I need to go back to the way I was eating beforehand. You end up not actually making any improvements. And so finding an approach right now that's more moderate, that's something you actually can stick with long-term, is really the way to go. And if you're looking to change your weight, the most important thing to do is to find a way to eat an amount of food overall that's going to be less than the calories that you're burning through physical activity. You burn calories from physical activity from, yes, going to the gym, but just walking around, from just being alive burns calories. And so you have to find that balance where you're eating moderate types of foods and making most of your foods, like nutritionists have been saying for decades now, we know you should be eating lots of fruits and veggies, lean meats, healthy fats. That information has not changed over time. The types of diets that come out every single January to kind of suck you into this new thing that sounds different and better. And those things do work. You do lose weight. But again, you want to focus on doing something that's more moderate so you actually can maintain it. And then maybe next year, you won't have to have weight loss as your goal in January because you change the way you're living your life and you're eating in a way and being active in a way that supports you maintaining that weight loss long-term. And that really should be the goal you're aiming for.
And Sinan, let me hit you with this question. Why do people initially think when it comes to living a healthier life, and as Jess mentioned, it's about fewer calories in and you're burning more calories, right? Fewer calories in, burn more calories to lose the weight. But why do people initially think it's going to cost them a lot more money to get healthier?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that comes to mind when we think about a healthier lifestyle is that, healthier food costs more. And that's usually not the case. A lot of people always steer to, I have to eat organic. I have to eat these certain things that are going to cost me a lot more if I was to change up my eating pattern. And that's usually not the case. We've done studies with a lot of the Penn State students that I've done studies with as well. And it's just, frozen vegetables, just even doing things like, a rotisserie chicken and a vegetable tray, you can literally go, just low budget and just dive into the nutrition side of it to make everything work. There's no budget tied to it. So I think a lot of people have that assumption of, when you go into a diet, there's a costly effect of it, but there really isn't. So.
All right, some of the nutrition questions are going to start. I think some of them are already coming in. We're going to get back to them in a second. But one other thing on people's radar for a new year, maybe they haven't done it in a while. Gyms in Pennsylvania finally reopened after sort of a 3-week hiatus this past Monday. So for Joe Pacifico, our all things fitness training guru, What is your advice when it comes to finding a gym if you haven't been a member of one before? How do you navigate it? What are the questions you should be asking? What should you be looking for in the bathrooms or around the water fountain when you're there to make sure the place is clean? Go ahead.
Obviously, location is a big issue because so many things deter you from working out. So you want to have a gym that's pretty close to your house so you can get in, get out. And when you walk in the gym, I always tell people the best time to go to the gym is when you're going to be there, because you want to see what type of environment it is. What's the crowd like? What's the equipment? Is it packed? Can I get on things? Because they're important. Because if you walk in, you can't get on anything, you're going to walk out. And then another thing you want to look for is how clean is the gym? Walk around. Is there hand sanitizer on the walls? Is the bathrooms clean? Is there spray bottles on the floor? Do people have workout towels? Nowadays with COVID, are they wearing their masks in there? So you got to pay attention to what's really going on in the facility. And one of the biggest things I tell people is get a free week's pass. Try it out for a week. There's not a gym out there that won't give you a free pass to try the facility. Try it out. Go when you want to go. Check it out. See if you can get on the equipment. And then once you become a member, get that orientation. It's important that you know what you're doing when you go into the facility, because if you're walking around aimlessly, you're not going to be there. And you want to be there. You want to bust all the myths, because they always say in our business, people are signing up for New Year's resolutions and they're done by Valentine's Day. And you really want to, if you want to get your goals, you need to make this a lifestyle change for yourself.
And obviously, this is why we're bringing the two components together, because you can't have one without the other. If your nutrition is terrible, you can't outwork a bad diet, which is why we have two nutrition experts with us on this Facebook Live. We'll be getting to some of your questions in a moment. But I think, Joe, when you mentioned about joining a gym, you talk about walking around, making sure things are clean, getting that free orientation. Another factor, you got to think about parking, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's got to be well lit and there's got to be plenty of, because the last thing you do is want to park down the block to get to the gym.
And Joe, when it comes to free orientations, a lot of times, no matter if you're looking at a national chain or a mom and pop shop gym, you know, that's where they start talking to you about personal training programs. If you're just joining a gym for the first time and getting a little bit fitter in your new year as your goal, do you need to pull the trigger right away on a personal trainer? What are the pluses or maybe even the negatives for somebody who's new to the whole workout scene?
Well, a personal trainer is the best thing you could probably ever invest in, because they're going to, with the proper educations, I've got my exercise science background. So I'm going to teach you how to do things the correct way when you go to a gym, because most of the people, I'd say probably 70% of the people that are jumping on New Year's resolutions have no idea how to work out. And so when you start your journey on your goal, it's important that you know what you're doing in the gym. And when someone's motivating you, you have other person competition in there, you'll see people working out, and you may want to do things that you shouldn't be doing. And this way, a trainer is going to guide you. He's going to get you on the right program. He's going to show you what to do, but you have to find the right trainer. That's a key component of it. There's a lot of trainers out there. We call them YouTube coaches that watch a couple videos and they're opening facilities and they don't really know what they're doing, and it could be dangerous for you.
And Joe, I wanted to fire off some of the talking points. I mean, some of these things we went over before this because I thought there was so much around some of this content before we actually launched this video. You made a great point. Obviously, know their background, their education, and ask them, why should I hire you, right? Like, I mean, maybe talk to other clients.
Absolutely. Like, it's just like a job interview. If you're interviewing for a job, you're interviewing a trainer that you're going to pay money to, that's going to help change your life. You want to have the right fit. Personality is the key. Because if you're spending an hour with someone, you're not enjoying that company, or they're a drill sergeant and you're laid back, you're an introvert, those personalities don't mesh. So you really want to be with someone that really is going to motivate you and take you to where you want to go with your goals.
And the big thing we want to point out, while we are giving you sort of the lay of the land and maybe some couple quick tips on what to look for when joining a gym, Joe will also share some great places if you're looking maybe just to start at home. He has some great free resource ideas he's going to share with us in a moment. But coming back to the whole nutrition topic, I have like notes everywhere, guys, because we have a lot to tackle. We're going to get to some folks' questions as well. You know, it seems the common trend for 2021 is setting habits and essentially trying to establish, the healthy routines. So how do you actually do that? Because some people can do things, some people have more success doing things that they say like, oh, if I'm not dieting, my life's better. Or I can go out with my friends more. I can have a glass of wine. Like, how do you navigate all of that? Because some people say, I don't want to give away the cans in my life. I can go to dinner with friends. If I'm on a diet, I can't do that. So Jess and Sanan, go ahead and take it from there.
Do you want me to start this one?
Yeah, go ahead. You can start.
So there's a lot of ways to respond to that. I mean, my favorite way is that I do strongly believe in whatever you can measure, you can manage. And so our philosophy with Stronger You, and it's not something you have to do forever, is that we encourage our members to track their food intake. The reason for that then is that you have goals to hit each day, and you then get to choose how you hit those goals. And if you're someone that wants to fit in a glass of wine here and there, if you know what you're eating the rest of the day, if you're planning ahead, if you kind of have your day planned out, you can fit that glass of wine in and still make movements towards your goal. You don't have to never eat chocolate chip cookies, but you can't eat all the chocolate chip cookies and still hit your weight loss goals. And so a way to manage that is if you're planning ahead, if you know what you're going to eat, if you know that you want to eat chocolate chip cookies that day, you can plan them in for that day. You can enjoy those cookies and still, again, move towards your goals. And so tracking your food intake, that can be one really, really great way to do that. Another thing I highly recommend too is focusing on how you're feeling and what you're doing on a daily basis versus long-term goals. Because if you're choosing to eat healthy, if you're choosing not to overindulge in wine, you're going to feel better. You're not going to wake up the next morning feeling groggy or feeling overfull or uncomfortable when you're trying to go to sleep. You're going to sleep better. And so focusing on what your day looks like and thinking about what the person is that you want to be like in the future, start living that lifestyle now, because those are the keys. Those are the things that make you feel your best. And you want to keep doing those things. And those things will eventually lead to you hitting those long-term goals. And so focusing on the daily, planning ahead, and then also measuring things, especially in the midst of making big changes, are some of the key components to that for me.
And Sanan, why would you say when it comes to having success with any weight loss plan, playing off of what Jess said, tracking your food is so important? And how do people do that? What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think tracking food is super important because you can get way ahead of the game that way. One of the biggest things she said was, how do you kind of build a regimen, or how do you build a plan ahead of time so that you have an idea of what you're going into? I mean, none of us go out to a dinner, 5 minutes before we know we're going out to a dinner. We usually have that plan going into it. So tracking your food through apps like Lose It, MyFitnessPal, any of those apps to track what you're eating throughout the day, to have an idea of where you are in terms of macronutrients going to, when the dinner time rolls around, you have a much better idea of what you can enjoy when you go out to eat. And I think that's what pulls a lot of the restriction out of it. You don't have to force yourself to go to your favorite restaurant and end up eating something you don't want to on the menu. If you think ahead, if we say, hey, Ryan, we're going out to this place for dinner, you already know that a day or a week in advance. So the easiest way we can kind of plan in advance is to look at the menu, pick, I like to say work backwards, pick what item you like to eat there, and then work backwards with the rest of your day to plan for that meal to fit.
And we want to point out, by the way, there's a lot of free resources and tools to help people learn how to track their food, how to figure out maybe what their calories should be. Do you guys recommend anything? I know obviously your company, that's what you guys focus on with Stronger You, right? Helping people track their macronutrients, and carbs, their fats, their protein. But for somebody who's just getting started, or maybe, is struggling with funds and can't hire a coach right away, what are some of the resources you might share with people from the get-go? We could start with Jess.
Yeah, so MyFitnessPal is a free resource that's out there, and they will actually, when you sign up, you put in your age, your weight, your height, your activity level, and they will calculate a recommended amount of calories to aim for per day. It may or may not be the best estimate, but it's a good estimate to start with. And with anything, you want to give that a shot for a while. If you are moving towards your goal with the numbers that they gave you in the app and you're feeling comfortable, then that's probably a good place to stay. But it's a good starting point. It's, again, free. There are paid versions of MyFitnessPal where you get some additional features available, but there's a free version that if you're just getting started is a really, really good place to begin. And just simply the act of tracking what you're doing makes you want to make healthier choices. If you know you're going to write in that you had, what you had for dinner, it's going to be a lot easier to choose that grilled chicken salad rather than the burger with French fries, because you're going to write it down. You're thinking about it more. You're more aware of what your choices are.
All right, so there's a free resource. One, Jess mentioned MyFitnessPal, a great resource. Another site that you guys shared with us as well is called getmymacros.com. There's some free nutrition information there to help people figure out how many calories you should be eating to, one, sustain your lifestyle, but also lose weight. And I have questions I'm going to be getting to shortly from Diane Devine. It's coming. Don't worry. I'm going to be answering your question as well as some other folks who are on here. This is starting to blow up, which is great. Let's get right to Diane's question, guys, actually, since it's on the screen now. What kinds of things can a person who works second shift do? I'm thinking she's talking nutrition. And then, Joe, maybe you can give somebody some guidance as well when they're working on that 3 to 11 shift, right? Navigating their workouts. Let's start with Sanan first when it comes to food for somebody who works maybe not a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah, that's perfect, Diane. I have a lot of, we have a lot of members on the program for Stronger You that, work overnights, that work those 3 to 11 shifts. And I think the biggest approach to it is kind of developing a pattern that works best for you. So for you to pick and drop somebody else's routine or eating pattern or eating times into your schedule, obviously is not going to set you up in a place that you feel comfortable. So it's figuring out, when do you start your day? What does the optimal window for breakfast for you look like? So, if we're working at 3 to 11 and our day starts at 11 a.m., do we set breakfast times that get us fired up for work? So when we get to work, we build the rest of our schedule around, when we have those breaks and when we can kind of almost shift our eating pattern into.
And I guess just playing off, obviously you guys tackled some of the nutrition components as well. But Joe, you've dealt with people, from a personal trainer standpoint, and you've worked with so many different athletes who probably have games at different times. What do you advise people when it comes to not only gaming their nutrition around their workouts, but also making sure they're getting that fitness in if they are working all sorts of wild shifts?
Schedule. That's a priority. Make sure you have the time to do what you need to do and make it a priority in your life, because that's the biggest thing, is getting to the facility. Nutrition is probably 60 to 70, 80% of what you do. And the facility is a small part, but it's a big part of what you do. You just have to make the time to get there.
I love that. I'm going to be bringing in some other questions as well as we continue this video. But one biggie that I think a lot of people always have on their minds when it comes to weight loss, and you guys have written a lot of blogs about it, Jess and Sinan, alcohol and weight loss. Can you lose weight and still drink wine? I see that question anytime I put this out there about, people's goals in the New Year's. That always populates in the feed.
Can you? Yes. Does it make it more challenging? Yes, for many reasons. For one, alcohol unfortunately does have calories. And when you think about the main thing that's determining whether or not your weight changes, it's calories. And so that one glass of wine that you're having, if you're trying to lose weight, and let's say, just for example, you're trying to eat 1,600 calories per day, one glass of wine is 150 calories. You can either have that one glass of wine, or you can have a really big salad to start your dinner. That'd be a similar number of calories, and which is going to fill you up more. And so there's always the choice between that. And then I'm really big on sleep. I've done a lot of, research on sleep and kind of changed my whole relationship with sleep myself. And I really prioritize that. And there's a really good resource, Why We Sleep, by Dr. Matthew Walker, that I know Ryan's also read. And in that book, he really talks about how even just one glass of alcohol before bedtime, and people say they have a nightcap, really interrupts sleep. It makes it, even if you feel like you sleep longer or as long, the quality of sleep is worse. And when you don't sleep well, it's not going to be easy to make good food decisions the next day. If you're feeling more tired, it's easier to say, oh, I'm going to grab that cookie instead of sticking to the plan you had beforehand. You're just not as motivated to stick to the program. And so there's a lot of things beyond just the calories from alcohol. They do impact your recovery. They impact your sleep. So there's a lot of reasons that, in general, people might want to consider reducing alcohol intake, but specifically in a weight loss circumstance, there are some benefits of reducing alcohol for sure. Can you have one glass of wine? Yes, but it's a trade-off between other things as well.
And I think the other thing that you guys, I've read a lot of blogs on this, including some of the content that Dr. Bachman has written. Obviously when you have that drink or two, then sometimes you're like, great, I'm going to eat the couch, because your senses and how you feel, right? You just feel great. And you're like, sure, I'll go to the drive-through, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's so much harder. And, this year, maybe it was a blessing that holidays weren't the same kind of situations. But before, when you'd be at your friend's house or a holiday party, and then you're drinking a little bit, and again, you weren't going to eat that pizza they had brought in later on, or the dessert at the end of the night, but you definitely reduce your inhibitions. You end up having that thing that you said you weren't going to have.
All right. So the next topic I'm going to bring in from Julie. She posted this, and I don't want to botch your last name, Julie. She was talking about keto. Keto is, well, here's another question from Julie, but here's her question. How do they feel about keto? Now, I know people are divided on this. I know Joe Pacifico, specifically, he's had success with keto. So why don't I start with Joe first, and maybe his success he's had with keto, and then we'll go to our nutrition gurus and their thoughts on it. So, Joe, for you, you've tried keto and it's worked, and you use it in your training.
On a personal level, yes. I'm a candy junkie. So, I love my sweets, and that's how I crave my carbs. I'm a simple sugar guy. So, I got into keto. I tried it. I did it for almost 4 years. So I just got off. Well, actually, one of my clients took me to sushi, and it was the first time I had any kind of carbs like that in 4 years. So now I've been off it for about 2 months, and I'm ready to get back on unless Dr. Bachman tells me I shouldn't.
Yeah. All right. So let's let Dr. Bachman explain what exactly is keto, because people have heard about it, but initially it was created for children with epilepsy, right?
Yeah, so initially created for children with epilepsy, and to really be in ketosis, you have to be in a very, very low amount of carbohydrates. And so when we eat very low amounts of carbohydrates, our bodies start producing ketones to use those for energy. So it's using fat to make energy. Typically, our brains run on glucose, which is what comes from carbohydrates. If you're eating so few carbs, though, our brains will start using other sources, and ketones being one of them. And so to actually be in ketosis, a lot of people say they're on a keto diet, and maybe they are eating very, very low carb. To eat on a keto diet, you really have to have like less than 30 grams of carbohydrates per day. That is challenging to do with normal foods. You're typically on like medical foods, like the kids on these diets are they're drinking a lot of like cream and oil-based drinks. It's really a medical prescribed diet. So the popular keto diet is lower carb. People can definitely have some success on it. I think the benefits are that when you are cutting out things like sweets, when you're cutting out things like pastas or rices or breads, if that's a big part of your diet, people end up eating fewer calories because they're cutting out these foods from their diet, and maybe they're eating other healthier options. So things like more lower carbohydrate veggies. If someone can stick with it long term, people do really feel good on it. It's definitely can be effective for weight loss if you're managing your calories. I guess my only opposition to it is that you are eliminating foods that to me are delicious. I love eating fruits. I love eating bread products. It's just hard to maintain for me personally long term. And I found that for many, many people, it's just something that they can stick with short term. It tends to be a challenge to do long term because there are so many restrictions with it. It's not inherently unhealthy. It's definitely something that if someone enjoys it, they can do it. My biggest concern is just the longevity of it. And, I'd rather work with people on kind of eating some of those foods in moderation and kind of developing a different relationship with food where the other foods can be a part of it in more a moderate way. So it can be an option, just tends to be a challenge for a lot of people to stick with long term. But if you can, it's not,
We had a little hiccup there, but I think the last thing I caught, I got this warning label. Hopefully everybody heard what she said. She was mentioning at the end of it, I think you were talking about it boils down to longevity, right?
Yeah, so that's just the main thing. If it's something that you really think you can do long term, like it is an option. Generally eating lean meats, eating, lower carb veggies can definitely be a healthy choice, and not eating cakes and cookies every day is a great option. It's just whether or not you think you can stick with it. That's really my main, I guess that's my main opposition to is that it is restrictive in some ways, and that could be a challenge.
Got it. I really appreciate it. My Wi-Fi dropped out for a sec. Everything went black, but I was like, we're still moving. So Joe, do you feel better now though? You're going to have that rice now that you heard from Dr. Bachman? You're going to go back to the sushi rice?
No, I wish I could though. But I was a pizza guy too. So I had pizza every day. And then when I got on keto, I didn't crave anything. That was the biggest thing. Like I have a 5-year-old daughter. There's candy everywhere in this house. And I didn't want it, but now I'm back looking at it again. I got to have it. So I'm trying to get back on my keto starting today, actually.
Yeah, so I wanted to come back, by the way, we mentioned workouts, and there was a guy on our Facebook, Sean McDermott, he posted an interesting comment, and I think we should address it because people often think, when it comes to 2021, that everything is either a gimmick, whether it's gyms trying to get you in the door or diets and fitness plan. But Joe, I wanted to give you an opportunity as well. Can you share some of the places that maybe if people are struggling in 2021, but they still want to get fit and work out? Tell me about some of the free, reputable sites that, you've shared with other people who might have had to dial back their personal training when COVID hit. Maybe they couldn't afford a gym membership. Share some of that news you can use information.
Yeah, well, the fitness industry is pivoted right now. So a lot of stuff is virtual because of COVID. And a great avenue to do that would be YouTube. They have some amazing channels on there. There's a couple companies that I like to see things on there. Pop Sugar, they're really good. They actually have videos with dogs in it. So if you have a puppy, you could do puppy squats, puppy curls, puppy deadlifts. HasFit has over 5,000 videos on there. They're really good. Fitness Blender, they're an awesome company also. So if you go to YouTube and just put in those names, you'll be able to see a lot of different workouts. Some are 5-minute workouts, some are 45-minute workouts. They've got something for everything that you want.
And for people who hopped on late, by the way, Patty Latasha, hopefully we can bring her comment in. She basically said, calories in, calories out. Should we burn more calories than we consume? I mean, weight loss, I've seen so many posts, right? Losing weight is easy, is simple, but it's not easy, right? So it's simple because it's like calories in, calories out, but it's not always easy. So how would you guys, Jess and Sanan, kind of expand upon and answer her question about the calories in, calories out to really boil that down?
Yeah,
I can dive into it. Calories in, calories out. If you're looking for weight loss, calories in less than the calories out is going to put you in that weight loss state. I think her question when she said, should we burn more calories than we consume? I think that's a pretty fine line that you want to look at. You don't want to get to a point where you're obsessive enough where, the calories that you eat, you go straight to the gym just to burn those calories off. And you want to find that fine balance of, how much food are you normally bringing in anyway? And you adjust those meals that those calories and those macronutrients that you're bringing into your regular consumption, and then kind of work that trade-off in terms of what calories out, what kind of exercise are we looking at? Like Jess said before, what kind of calories are we burning just with life alone, walking around. Now with winter, doing things like shoveling our driveways, just certain things that we're burning calories through. So it does come down to calories in, calories out, but it never should come down to eating more calories and then getting out to do more exercise just to burn those calories off.
I think my next question might be for Dr. Bachman. No, we addressed keto and the science behind it and how it started and the history. What do you say to clients and people when they approach you and say, I want to go gluten-free, but they don't have a gluten intolerance? There's so much buzz and there's so many products. And Sanan, you can chime in on this as well. Just the whole gluten-free craze. Why are people so into it? Is there any benefits of removing, gluten to your diet if you don't have an intolerance? How do you navigate that when people bring that question to the table?
So when someone asks me about that, I would ask them the reason why. What have you heard about it? Let's talk about the reason you want to do that. Anything that you do that introduces sticking to a healthy diet more challenging or more expensive, if there's really no reason behind it, I just question why, because you're just making it harder on yourself. And already there's so many healthy foods that are gluten-free anyways. I mean, you could fruits, vegetables, lean meats, the basis of most diets are gluten-free anyways. And so if you're just going to have some normal bread that has gluten in it, that's not going to be the thing versus trying to buy some specialized gluten-free bread that's more expensive. That's not going to be the one thing that helps you lose weight or make a change. So there are, people who have celiac disease cannot eat gluten. Their body reacts to that in a way that it's not appropriate for them. They do need to remove it from their diet. There are very few medical reasons where gluten should actually be removed. It would actually have any benefit. There's a lot of talk about it being inflammatory. It's only inflammatory if you have a medical condition that does not allow you to digest gluten well, or if your body reacts to gluten in a way that causes inflammation. And most people do not have that concern. So people who remove gluten, though, sometimes they'll feel better. Why is that? Well, what types of foods have gluten? Gluten is in flour. So if you remove the cookies, you remove the cake, you remove those types of treats that do have gluten in them, you remove eating pizza every day, those things are going to make you feel better. It's not necessarily the gluten being removed from your diet. It's the types of foods you're choosing to eat instead of eating cookies, cakes, and pizza. So again, it's not a bad thing to remove gluten, but it's probably not. There's probably no additional benefit for anyone except for the fact that you're removing those types of foods that are not going to make you feel your best anyways.
Such great information. And by the way, I know some people are hopping on, hopping off. And if you missed it earlier, for those who jumped on, if you had questions about keto, just rewind this video. When it's all said and done, we tackled the whole keto diet, some of the history behind it, the benefits, why some people do it, why some people maybe shouldn't think about doing it. And we also dove into what to look for if you're exploring a new gym in 2021, right? You're exploring a new fitness facility, questions to be asking a trainer, why parking is so important at the facility you're looking at. I guess let me go back to Joe Pacifico, who's sort of the fitness guru. He's lived all over the country. He's trained professional athletes from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to other folks in and around the country. Joe, I can't even keep track. There were so many of them. But I guess the last thing, what do you notice, I guess, with athletes? What was the nutrition plan you saw with them that was really successful? Was it hiring a nutrition coach, or what did you see from people like that really helped them thrive in the gym environment and rock their workouts?
You're going to see the best athletes in the country separate everything they do in the fitness level. They have a nutrition coach. They have a soft tissue coach. They have a performance coach. They have a strength coach. They separate everything, and they have the availability to do that because they have the funds to do that. That is the best recipe for success.
Got it. Yeah, you're not kidding. When you're making some of that professional athlete money, I guess then you could hire a soft tissue coach. I didn't even know they existed.
Yeah.
I I love that. I want to bring in a few other questions. I'm just scanning this. I mean, keto was a big thing people were buzzing about. I mean, Jess and Sanan, you really have your pulse on the nutrition industry. What's something in 2021 you're starting to see creep up that you're like, this is great, or avoid it?
One that's continued to be popular for a while is vegetarian and vegan diets. There's a few documentaries in the past few years about them, and eating a more plant-based diet is amazing. There's lots of health benefits to adding more fruits and vegetables and whole grains to your diet. There's really, if you look at the research, there's no research to suggest that also including meat in your diet has any detrimental effects on your health overall, whether it's related to cancer, cardiovascular disease. Yes, having too much, full fat red meat has higher saturated fat. That might be related to cardiovascular disease. But in general, vegetarian vegan diets can be healthy as well. You do have to really be more purposeful about the types of food you're choosing. Again, it's one of those things where it makes eating healthy a little bit more challenging because you're restricting food, you're having to be more specific about stuff. It can be a healthy option, but it's not the only healthy option. And you don't have to remove meat from your diet to have a healthy diet. And so for me, that's what I've been, especially with our Stronger You members, we've been seeing quite a few that's still rising on a regular basis, people coming in vegetarian and vegan diets right now.
Sanan, anything you want to add to that about things you're hearing about in 2021, or people are hitting you up on Instagram and they're like, hey, how about this? And you're like,
yeah, I think one of the biggest things, it's a good thing for me. One of the biggest things that I've been seeing a lot with people trying to cut back on shopping, exposure to grocery stores, and certain things with COVID as well, is more and more people are picking up on the idea of meal prepping and just kind of batch prepping for their whole family in advance. So we have a lot of questions coming across as far as, what can I prep for my whole family, whether it's, pulled chicken in a slow cooker, whether I can bake sweet potatoes in the beginning of the week. So I think a lot more people are starting to think about, what can I batch prep that'll last the whole week and not just last for me, but, my husband or wife and kids at home. And they're really starting to think about, batch prepping food for everybody to enjoy, to pull back, I guess to bring in the efficiency to it and to pull back the amount of trips that they need to take to the grocery store. And really save on the budget side too.
Such great information. I think one last thing I wanted to touch on. And by the way, if anybody's watching this has any last minute questions, hop on, get them in now. I'm seeing more people are signing on and they're grateful we're tackling this. Lisa actually just asked a question that somebody else did as well. So guys, I'll have Jess and Sanan tackle this. Intermittent fasting. Tell us what it is first. And then also, do you recommend it?
Sanan, do you want me to take it or do you want to?
You can take it if you want to start up.
Sure. So intermittent fasting is not just one thing, or there's a lot of different ways to approach it. The most common protocol is that you're choosing a specific time in the day where you start eating and you stop eating. A lot of times they are an 8-hour period. So commonly people will not start eating any food until noon and they'll stop eating at 8 p.m. That's just a common one out there. There are other protocols where maybe you'll fast once per week or twice per week. And so there'll be 1 or 2 day fasts and you'll eat normally the other days per week. And so there's not any one thing out there for it. There are a lot of health claims out there related to intermittent fasting. And generally what you see in the research that has compared it, and a few studies have come out recently, is that intermittent fasting can be a technique that is as effective as any other technique that helps you monitor how many calories you're consuming. And so people do lose weight using intermittent fasting because basically you're skipping breakfast. And if you're skipping a meal, and you're eating all of your calories in just 8 hours, that allows you to more easily eat fewer calories. And so it's something that actually does help a lot of people. If that fits your lifestyle. For me, I'm up super early in the morning. I am hungry as soon as I wake up. I try to do intermittent fasting just because I like to try out diets to kind of see how they are. For me, it did not work at all. I felt really uncomfortable. I was just thinking about food all morning until I got to eat. And so for me, it doesn't work, but I have a lot of members that I work with that for them, it's really effective. If you get to eat larger meals because you're eating all of your calories in a shorter period of time, you can have a bigger lunch, or you can have a bigger snack or have a bigger dinner. And that feels more satisfying to some people. So it's really dependent on you. There's nothing magical about intermittent fasting or a specific number of hours you have to eat within, but it is definitely a technique that can help people stick to a calorie deficit for weight loss. And so I'm not opposed to it or really recommend it. It's really what works best for your schedule.
And I think I'm going to hit you, speaking of all the talk around calories, and maybe Sanan, you can answer this or Jess can chime in. Patty Latcha, I hope I'm saying that right. Patty, I've been up since 2 a.m., so I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. Here's the calorie question. What is a healthy calorie intake to start a weight loss goal? I know that's not easy, so how do you kind of answer that?
Well,
You want
the
me to dive into
simplest
it?
way, let me just give the one simplest equation that you can talk about a little bit more. But for most people, starting with body weight times 10 is gonna be a general okay starting point. Again, I'd have to know your weight for sure. We need a lot more information, but that for majority of people, that would be an okay place to start for setting calories. And I'll let Sanan kind of follow up on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think, with Patty's question, a lot of it goes into, how active are you? What does your daily routine look like? If you have a sedentary lifestyle, if you are sitting at a desk for work, or if you're up and moving more for work. Those are a lot of factors that play into it. I know a lot with working at home now or working from home. We do have the ability to, work standing up, walk around the house, get in X amount of steps. And I think all of those factor into the calorie intake too. So there's a lot of pieces that go into it. But I think what Jess said, body weight times 10 is a great place to start.
And then those free trackers too. So whether it's My Fitness Pal or My Macros Plus. So again, if you sign up for one of those free things, they will calculate for you what they recommend. It's always a starting point. So you have to see how that goes for you, if it's manageable, if you're losing weight on that amount, and then you have to make adjustments based on how you're doing.
Yeah, I was actually trying to pull up that website again because some of the free tools that we tackled earlier in this Facebook Live video to help you in case you're like, all right, where do I start? If you're not maybe taking the leap to hire, say, a nutrition coach or a trainer or working with somebody in the exercise science nutrition field. Some of the sites we shared earlier, getmymacros.com is a free site that can help you calculate your carbs, your fats, your protein, but really give you like a calorie number for your certain body type and how much you weigh and what your goals are. MyFitnessPal is another great resource. And I was going to mention as well, there's a lot of great blogs out there and literature. I'm going to post some when this Facebook Live video is all said and done. Some of the pros who've joined us today, obviously Sanan, Jess, and Joe, they've shared tips on shopping on a budget. There's some great blogs on that because as we mentioned at the beginning of this Facebook video, everyone says, oh, I want to get healthier in the new year, but I can't pay for all that expensive healthy food. And you guys kind of show, here's how you can do it. I guess another thing is too, you probably get this question for the nutrition folks, organic, right? Everybody thinks, and if I want to lose weight in the new year, I have to eat everything organic. How do you answer that when, your 40,000 clients are asking you that question?
Yeah, I mean, I can dive into that one. I think with organic, we do have a big scope that goes into, what is it that we eat organic? What is it that we should look for with organic? Certain things that we see more and more production of increasing, if we're talking apples, if we're talking certain things that we're going to start seeing more and more. I think starting out with what you can source locally or what you can find, in the area that you're in. I know when I was in state college for, working with Penn State, there's apples everywhere. So local apples were far more, I guess, easier to access and beneficial than, having to find organic and spend that extra money. So you really want to think about what's local to you, what's more accessible to you, and what you can help out, local farmers with as well. And that step of organic, it's not necessary for somebody who comes into it because they come into it with the financial, mindset of, I don't want to dive into something I just paid this much money for, plus spend money more on organic ingredients too. So again, I think it's something that scares people, but at the same time, we can definitely work around it with frozen vegetables that are frozen at their peak time. Even canned vegetables if you need to make the budget work, and there's a lot of different options for it.
And I think the great thing now too, I just wanted to springboard off of some of the stuff you said. In addition to kind of gaming your plan, you guys mentioned about prepping meals for the week for your family and buying foods that are sustainable, not only for maybe your weight loss goals, but things that your kids are going to want to eat. There's also all over, northeastern and central Pennsylvania in the country, really, if you have the means, there's a lot of meal prep companies that'll take the thinking out of it for you. So that's something to explore as well. I'm going to get all of your final thoughts in a moment. Basically, I'll come back to Jess and Sanan when it comes to if you're trying to lose weight, where do you start again with nutrition? But Joe, just back to you. Ultimately, if people are taking the leap to say, I'm joining a gym in 2021, just recap some of your tips, tricks, things to look out for before signing a contract and paying a lot of money. Convenience
is one, cleanliness is another. If you're going to get a trainer, personality, their background, their success stories, just be ready to go into it with an open mind, and be ready to accomplish your goals. Because so many people walk in without a goal. If you walk in without a goal, you really don't know what you're going to do when you get in there. So it's important to set your goal ahead of time when you go in there. Try it out for a free week. Make sure you go in the time that you're going to be going in. Make sure there's ample parking for you, and enjoy yourself and last past Valentine's Day.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. That's when a lot of the resolutions kind of fade. And at the beginning of this video as well, Joe, you really said something really great. Obviously, take advantage of those free weeks that gyms offer that don't charge anything, and also the free orientations. Because what I love about so many orientations at so many gyms all over our area, they will actually put together a little workout plan for you, and they take you through the gym during that free time, and they tell you, hey, on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, hit these machines. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, hit this, because some people want the thinking taken out of it for them. And then coming back from the gym standpoint to nutrition, Jess and Sanan, if people are watching this and they're like, okay, how do I eat healthier in 2021? If they missed the beginning of this video, boil it down. Where do you start?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that goes hand in hand with, Joe's approach too, just have fun with it. I think that's one of the biggest pieces that people miss out of it. When you meal prep, when you prep for your family, when you go grocery shopping, try to do it together. Just have fun with, the healthy eating side of it, by whether it's, setting little cooking challenges at home between the whole family. Just make it fun, enjoy what you're doing, but still have an idea of, what you're putting in your body. And we talked about a lot of the free apps that we can access in the websites too, and just get a feel for what the macronutrients and calories are that are going in. And it all just boils down to, what you're preparing at home, what you're putting on your plate, and then putting in your body in return. So as long as you have fun with it, I think it just makes the process much easier, much more sustainable, and more efficient.
And Jess, any final thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. Again, we highly do recommend tracking food intake, what you are tracking. Self-monitoring dietary intake, which is like the fancy scientific term, is one of the best behavioral strategies you can use to monitor what you're eating, to make sure you're eating the amount to move towards your goals. If weight loss is your goal, again, ultimately you have to be eating fewer calories than you're expending. And by tracking your food intake, that's the best way to know whether or not you're achieving that. It allows you to see where you can make adjustments, and choosing a diet that's one you actually can stick with long term. The challenge you're doing this month, yeah, it might help you lose weight, it might make some changes in your life, but are you going to be able to sustain doing that for the entire year? The goal should be to not go on a resolution again next January. So really make some changes, eat an overall healthy diet, and those are the things you really want to focus on.
I want to fly in some of the happy comments too that we're getting as well from Donna, if we can. She just chimed in and kind of echoed what some other people said. They said, this was so informative. Thank you. So I appreciate our experts and your time today. I want you guys to see what Donna said, because people appreciate what you're bringing at them.
Thanks, Donna.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you.
And I really think, guys, when even coming back to what Joe mentioned in the fitness industry and what you tackled with nutrition, so many people set these goals or resolutions, whatever you want to call them, for a new year to live a better life, right? Or a healthier life. And sometimes they kind of go by the wayside by February. So we were trying to offer some content and information to help them sustain that. I love at the beginning of this segment when we talked about keeping the cans in your life. I can go to dinner, I can have a glass of wine, but just being able to track that and being accountable. And kind of like Sanan said, if you're going to go to your favorite restaurant, your binge meal is this. And if you're using free resources like MyFitnessPal or calculating your macros through some of those websites we mentioned earlier, kind of working off that big boy meal you're going to eat later, so you kind of just don't kill it at the buffet too much, maybe, All right. Really appreciate your thoughts and ideas. I'm just checking to see if anybody has any last minute questions. I mean, this is good. Most people are just saying this was super informative and helpful. So that tells me that we really didn't miss a lot. And as Joe Pacifico mentioned, from the fitness industry standpoint, if you're scared to walk into a gym now, maybe with the pandemic and everything, don't forget YouTube is great. And Joe, tell me about some of those other sites you mentioned for free workouts and resources.
They're on YouTube Fitness, and it's HasFit. There's Pop Sugar on there. Fitness Blender is a great program. They have a lot of good online content, and there's workouts from 5 minutes to 45 minutes. But I think one of the biggest takeaways that I like to give people during this time of year is your goals. If there's a big goal of weight loss for you, and say it's 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds, that's a great goal that you're going to accomplish, but you got to break that down a little bit. You've got to see, because there's a lot of scale watchers out there. I don't like my clients to look at a scale, but there's a lot of scale watchers out there. So if you could break that down to 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds a week, you're going to see some instant gratification on that if you're on the right program, and it's going to motivate you.
Yeah, really great information. I can't wait, by the way. I'm looking at this video. I can't wait till we can all work out next to each other and like hold hands in the gym, right? This is obviously before the pandemic hit. Just a final thought, there's so many programs out there, whether it's, online nutrition coaching programs like with Stronger You Nutrition. Patty mentioned is Weight Watchers a good weight loss program? The bottom line, no matter what company you decide to hire, guys, what do you advise people? Is it just really for accountability? Is it being able to check in or connect with somebody? So no matter what company you're shopping for, what do you advise folks if they need help in nutrition? What they should have on their radar?
Yeah, looking for accountability, community, those are some things that, changing your lifestyle, changing your diet can be really challenging to do on your own. And so if you're working directly with a coach and they're checking in on you, they know your specific situation, they can make adjustments based on what's working best for you is so important. And if you have a program where there's a community, so there's other people also going through similar diet changes, that can be a huge benefit too, because then you build friendships and you kind of talk about things that are working well and not working well, and you have support. And so having the support system can be hugely beneficial. And then also, again, just really looking for a program that's not going to be super restrictive or force you to eat things that you don't actually enjoy. And so looking for something that fits what your preferences are and is not going to have you completely eliminate things are some of the things I would tell you to look for.
Sanan, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think just going into any program, being open-minded to change. That's one of the biggest things. You don't want to go into a program having a biased, opinion about weight loss or weight management going into it. And once you go in, like Jess said, just having the accountability and having a community that you can bounce ideas off of, because there's a lot of people out there in the same boat as you. There's a lot of people out there that are having the same, work from home struggles with 2-3 kids running around. So as long as you can bounce those ideas off of others and kind of brainstorm what works the best, I think that's where you're going to succeed the most.
All right. So much great information. I know we shared a lot of tips and tricks. I'm going to share, by the way, some of the resources that we highlighted today. People were asking about figuring out their calories. I'll share some of that stuff. Some great blogs as well. Obviously, gosh, we could spend another hour or two just on sleep and stress. The good news is if you check out WNEP TV's YouTube channel, I did a whole video as part of this episodic content called Help and Hope for 2021 on the power of sleep with a neurologist and sleep expert, and something she said, citing research article after research article, kind of like what Dr. Bachman pointed out. You're not going to be successful losing weight if you're not getting enough shut-eye, right, Jess?
Oh yeah, sleep has such a big impact in so many ways. It even affects whether or not you're going to maintain muscle while you're losing weight. So there's lots of different things that change in your body if you're not getting enough sleep.
Yeah. And you know what I love too? I know there's been multiple podcasts out there. I've watched YouTube videos on some people when they're like, why should I hire a trainer or nutrition coach? I think what's interesting, if you have the means, when you step back and you really look at it, so many of us, we want to hire somebody to help us with our finances, right? We need an accountant, like a CPA, to help us do our taxes. But I think like nutrition is still, even though like the nutrition world's been around for a bit, I've heard some experts refer to it, it's still like in the toddler phase, right? It's still like only 40, 50, 60 years where we're starting to learn so much about how the body interacts with how we eat, how we move, how we burn calories, right? And that's why I think it's so crucial that if you have the means or you have the network to connect with somebody on LinkedIn or another platform to reach out to a coach or somebody who has it in their wheelhouse, I don't know, it just makes sense. The more I think about it, I'm like, why did I do this like years ago, right? Or like connect with people who like this was their wheelhouse, because I can't do my own taxes. That's why you got to get an accountant, right? So why don't people do that with nutrition or even like in the fitness industry when you don't know how to like throw weight around? So kudos to you guys for living your passion, but also really bringing the evidence-based and science tracked research to really back it up. So much stuff. I mean, we could go on for hours because, as I said, there's so much to nutrition. Any final thoughts before I let you guys off the hook?
If you're going to hire a trainer, the least expensive is usually the least qualified. So pick a good trainer and make sure it matches your personality.
Perfect. All right. And for people who see this, obviously a lot of you guys are folks that I've turned to for fitness questions. I mean, Dr. Bachman, she's been a familiar face on our morning show. When there's a fad diet that comes out, we're like, what does it mean? What do we need to know? So how can people, you guys are also on social media. So let's start with Dr. Bachman. If people have questions or want to connect with you or just are interested, I mean, you've taught at universities, you've published a number of research articles. You taught me so much. So how can people find you if they have any questions to connect?
My email is jessica@strongeryou.com. I'm docbach_strongeryou on Instagram, and then Jessica Bachman on Facebook. Feel free to reach out on any of those different means.
All right. And Sinan, who, by the way, I actually got a hold of Sinan after meeting him through Jess. I would see him share all these articles and information. I'm like, who's this guy? He knows a thing about nutrition. Sinan, by the way, is at school at Penn State. But we should point out, during the pandemic, you've been in Istanbul, Turkey.
Yeah, that's where I am now. So I'm a couple hours ahead of you guys.
All right. Yeah, thank you for staying up late. And Sinan, how can people connect with you? Because you're ultimately the reason why I'm telling you about like their Instagram platforms and channels, they post a lot of free, credible, university-based information. So Sinan, how can people find you?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you guys have any questions, my email address is sinan@strongeryou.com, and the spelling for Sinan is right there. And my Instagram is dr_synonymous. That's SYNONYMOUS. You guys can find me on there, and there's a lot of content going out in terms of recipes, food, anything that you guys want to go into.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to share with you, because people are always like, who do I go to? Who do I trust for like good stuff? Look, for like 10 years, I've been asking Dr. Bachman like a million different diet questions or everything else. So these are people who are, they've done their homework. And for Joe Pacifico, the best way if people want to connect with you, even though you've been like Pitbull, the rapper, Mr. Worldwide, now you're back in NEPA. You have a young daughter here. You moved home to be closer, I know, to your mom. How do people connect with you, Joe?
You can go to our website, www.elitegamespeed.com, hit contact us. You can give us a call at 570-503-6698, and you can bring your game to life.
Oh, well, that was like a little commercial. There you go.
I think I just did one.
He just snuck that in there. But really, no matter where you live, there's a lot of great trainers and people who are registered dietitians. So if you know of somebody in your network, whether it's on LinkedIn, on social media, if you have a question, if you're confused, reach out to these people. This is their wheelhouse. Because as I said, during tax time, you hire an accountant. If you have questions about food, reach out to somebody who knows about it. And I appreciate your time and everybody for logging on. So Jessica, Patty, Jim, Karen, all these people who jumped on Facebook, really appreciate it. It's hope and help for 2021. Thanks to these pros. Thanks again, guys. You're the best.
Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.